Leadership lessons they never teach you. Leadership is one of the most misunderstood words in business. Most people think that leadership starts once you become responsible for other people. But I don't think that's where it starts. Over the years, I've worked with founders, leaders, business owners, and execs spanning across multiple industries. And one pattern keeps on showing up again and again. The businesses may look different. The people may look different, but the same principles keep revealing themselves. And I want to be clear, these aren't theories that I've borrowed from books. These have been earned in boardrooms, in conversations, sitting across other leaders, failing in my own businesses, building businesses, becoming a husband, being a father. And in turn, understanding what leadership is really asking from us. This series isn't about becoming an impressive leader. It's about becoming the kind of person who can carry any amount of pressure without losing themselves in the process. Because every business reflects the leader who built it. So welcome to the leadership lessons they never teach you. Lesson 1. Leadership starts on the inside. Where does leadership actually begin? Most people believe that it starts when you become responsible for other people, when you are the head of a team or organization, or you're managing the P&L. And I don't think that's true. I think leadership begins somewhere where nobody is looking. For a long time, leadership was something I did, not someone I was. I could see it clearest in the gap outside of my home versus inside of it. In construction, leading men, teams, it was easy. There was clarity, there was direction, there was structure and frameworks to do so. And it was interesting because even in those moments when I was uncertain, I was able to lean in and say yes. And everything felt figure-outable. But at home, behind closed doors, I felt lost. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't feel like I had those tools or skills. And on top of that, I also felt this deep seed of not knowing myself well enough to lead from there. What hit home eventually was realizing the problem was never the setting. It was never being in the office or being at home. It was that I wasn't leading myself. I hadn't yet built a set of behaviors that allowed me to trust myself in that identity because I never identified myself as someone who was a good leader. I was just found in these positions and I was expected to know what to do in these spaces. And that was the gap. It was not the room that I was standing in. And so it gave me the opportunity to do something about it. Once I started doing the actual work, looking at my behaviors, looking at my identity, looking at where I need to delegate, looking at where I need to grow, recognizing that I have a lot of growth and potential that requires attention and intention, alongside getting really honest about my emotional patterns, my emotional management, where I had these underlying feelings of inadequacy or not enoughness. It didn't just change how I showed up in business and how I managed teams and people. It showed up in how I related to myself first, and then my partner, and then my kids. And that shift is the most important one that I've ever made, and it is one that I'm still in and always refining. Leadership is not something you do. It is someone you become. Before leadership ever shows up in your business and in your team or your family, it already exists in the way in which you relate to yourself. Every organization eventually mirrors its leadership. Every relationship eventually mirrors its participants. And every business eventually reflects the leader who built it. Most people separate leadership into compartments. You've got business, you've got marriage, you've got parenting, health, friendships. But life doesn't work that way. It's all-encompassing. Someone who avoids difficult conversations at home typically avoids them at work as well. Someone who struggles to trust themselves typically struggles to trust their team. And so leadership isn't compartmentalized. It's something that ripples into every single aspect of your life. And here's the deeper reason why people are leading from the wrong layer entirely. There are 3 layers to any leader. You You have your identity, your personality, and your behavior. And most leadership struggles typically happen when you're operating from a very shallow layer. So let's look at personality, behavior, and identity. Personality is the armor. It's the coping patterns that you built earlier on to keep yourself safe. So, overworking, to feeling this need to control, to having to take on everyone else's emotional weight, those are patterns to keep you safe. And on the outside, it looks like leadership, but it's actually a survival strategy that's wearing a suit. And then look at behavior that's clearly visible. It's your communication style, it's your management, it's how you operate. And all of that matters, but it is not the source. Under real pressure, technique is the first thing to fail. And so you default straight back to what your personality learned to do under stress. Identity is the layer that you find under behavior and your personality. And think of it as who you are once that armor relaxes, that authentic, expressive version of you. This is the part of you that's steady, clear, that is not needing to control the outcome. And to be honest with you, it's also what this entire series is aimed at, your identity. And I find when people are wanting to change, they just focus on changing behavior, and that's going to reprogram your entire system. And sure, there is truth within that. But if you are unable to see yourself and see how you are different to the leader that you are wanting to mirror, you might follow the same behavior, but you will have a different feel, a different flair, different strengths. Not all of those gaps can be filled by bettering a skill set. You also have your own unique expression of how you lead and what feels true to you. You have a different set of values. And as much as you want to borrow skills and behaviors and ideas from other people, what do you think? How do you craft that into who you believe yourself to be? So here's the question I want to leave you with this week. Where's your leadership strongest? And where is it quietly starting to disappear? And the other question is, what do you think your business or your relationship and even your relationship with yourself is reflecting back to you? If you were to be honest enough to look at it without judgment and complete curiosity. Feel free, drop it in the comments below. We'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers.